Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Counting on the Duggar family's unfair system exposed. Counting on alums Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar have been questioned multiple times about how they raised their kids. TLC documented their lives with their 19 children. Fans have seen them homeschool the kids and teach them the core values of the IBLP. However, some Redditors think one questionable system may still be running today. Keep reading to see what it was. Counting on. How are Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar today? One of the latest updates from Jim Bob and Michelle was about their appearance at Joy Anna's house to celebrate their grandson Gunnar's first birthday. Many were surprised that Jim Bob is still in touch with his daughter despite her decision to step away from their beliefs. Some Counting On fans are also waiting for Jim Bob and Michelle to mention the current courtship of their son, Jason Duggar. But some Redditors think they no longer follow such courtship rules and believe it's due to their twisted system. The Duggar family's unfair system exposed. Some Counting On fans on Reddit discussed a clip of a woman talking about the controversial system in the family. According to the lady who goes by the TikTok name Sam Bear, many of the Duggar children are moving away from their faith, especially the girls. However, it's noticeable how most boys still stick with Jim Bob, even though they have also broken some rules. This made the woman realize that something was wrong and that there might be a system where men would get all the benefits exclusively. Others agreed and said it's normal in such religious families. It's true, the boys have much less reason to question things. How this benefits them the most and the ways it hurts them are harder to see from the inside when you don't know anything different. I don't know how true this is when the next post down is about one of the Lost Boys who posts shirtless selfies and kisses his valedictorian girlfriend who attends an accredited college. All the boys obviously aren't following Gothard either. This, although I tend to believe that it only benefits certain kind of men. Ultimately, most of the Duggar boys got screwed over by the cult too, but they might not realize this as much as their sisters. Yeah, I've noticed this. The men all marry wives who are submissive and want to have as many babies as possible. The women have married men who don't. It's not a coincidence. Counting On. The Duggar boys shock fans in latest outing. Some Counting On fans from a different Reddit thread also discussed a shocking picture of James and Jason going shirtless during a beach trip with some of their friends. According to the poster, they assume that the coolers contain beer in them. Others also mentioned how all the boys are allowed to behave that way while the girls are strictly required to be modest. Y'all know they got some beers in that cooler. Right, the boys seem to get to enjoy life and live like young adults, but the girls are promptly married off to be pregnant until menopause. It's hideously unfair. There'd be many things I would be angry about being a Duggar daughter. Counting On has long showcased the Duggar family's strict, conservative lifestyle. This well-known reality show, a follow-up to 19 Kids and Counting, attracted a loyal viewership curious about the family's unique world of rigid beliefs, faith-based values, and unwavering obedience to tradition. However, in recent years, more critical discussions have emerged, casting a skeptical eye on what was once portrayed as idyllic, questioning the fairness and impact of the Duggar family system, especially on the younger members. The foundation of the Duggar system. At the core of the Duggars' lifestyle are their fundamentalist Christian values, as interpreted through the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, a controversial organization founded by Bill Gothard. The Duggars have long adhered to Gothard's teachings, which emphasize patriarchal authority, strict gender roles, and unwavering obedience to parents, especially fathers, as the head of the household. Gothard's teachings advocate for a family structure that some would argue limits the autonomy of women and young adults, positioning them in submissive, predetermined roles from which they struggle to escape. In this system, Jim Bob Duggar, as the patriarch, is the primary decision-maker for nearly every aspect of family life. From courtship rules to career choices, and even in matters of personal expression, Jim Bob has considerable influence over each family member's life. This strict hierarchical structure, where the father rules with an unchallenged authority, means that children grow up with limited individual freedom and little room for personal exploration or dissent. For years, this arrangement seemed to go unquestioned, but as the Duggar children have grown and begun to share their personal stories, the facade has begun to crack, revealing the system's potentially restrictive nature. The control of courtship and marriage. One of the Duggars' most distinctive practices is their approach to relationships. Rather than allowing their children to date freely, the Duggars encourage courtship, a structured process where the couple's interactions are heavily supervised and monitored. Courtship typically involves parental approval, chaperoned outings, and limited physical contact, often only permitting side hugs and hand-holding. The couple is expected to marry with the explicit goal of having children as soon as possible, reinforcing a cycle of family continuity and adherence to tradition. While the Duggar parents promote courtship as a way to protect purity and maintain values, critics argue that it limits the children's ability to make personal choices about love and relationships. Daughters in particular face the pressure to marry young and enter into the role of homemaker and mother, reflecting the IBLP's belief that a woman's primary purpose is to support her husband and raise children. Critics believe this approach restricts the autonomy of women, pushing them into predefined roles before they have the chance to explore their own identities. For example, Jill Duggar Dillard's experience has drawn considerable public interest. Once a central figure in Counting On, Jill became one of the first Duggar children to openly speak out about her parents' control over her life, even after marriage. In recent interviews, Jill has shared how her parents attempted to control her financial decisions, parenting choices, and even her personal boundaries with her husband, Derek Dillard. Jill's story highlights the restrictive environment in which the Duggar children were raised and the lasting impact it can have on their adult lives. Financial control and lack of independence. Financial dependence on parents is another significant factor that has contributed to the alleged unfairness in the Duggar family system. The Duggars have not disclosed all of the financial arrangements for their reality show appearances, but there have been indications that the children received little to no compensation for their participation in 19 Kids and Counting On. Instead, Jim Bob reportedly maintained control over the family's finances, a move that critics argue has kept the children financially dependent on their parents well into adulthood. Jill Duggar's husband, Derek Dillard, has claimed that Jim Bob took home the majority of the show's earnings, leaving the other family members with little financial compensation despite their contributions. He has also alleged that, as adults, the Duggar children were pressured to sign contracts that would extend the family's reality TV brand without fair compensation. Without financial independence, the Duggar children had few options to break away from the family's rules, as they often lacked the means to support themselves outside the family system. This financial dependency has raised questions about exploitation and fairness, particularly given that reality TV has become a major revenue stream for many families. While the children were often portrayed as willing participants in the show's narrative, the reality of their situation was more complex, with little room to negotiate for themselves or express disagreement with the family's portrayal. Gender inequality and lack of career opportunities. The Duggars' adherence to traditional gender roles has arguably created an environment where young women are limited in terms of career opportunities and personal development. The daughters of the family have been encouraged to focus on homemaking and motherhood, with little emphasis on pursuing higher education or careers outside the home. Conversely, the Duggar sons have been encouraged to develop vocational skills, with some even starting their own businesses, though they are also expected to prioritize family and faith over professional ambitions.